stream.
Start recording audio as well.
Oh yeah, that'll help.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine because we're not starting yet. So, view on YouTube. So here is a link to the.
Right, what's the login credentials for our Twitter?
Imaginary Pod.
At Imaginary Pod?
No, you don't need that. Just Imaginary Pod as a username. And then China 2001, maybe.
Oh, wait, I should have it here. China, capital C?
No. I actually don't
Weird
know what it
password, by the way.
Just Sam's
That's my
go-to
standard.
password.
I don't give a shit password.
Sam's a fucking sleeper agent, I'll tell you that.
Please hack me. I do not care.
Please take his life. He's
There you go.
begging somebody to
Yeah,
assume
it
his
is
identity.
Yeah, that worked, Sam. Come to think of it, Dave, have you ever heard Sam criticize
we
the Chinese
literally
government?
just streamed that on the internet.
Criticize what?
No, the password.
Oops. Maybe someone should change that.
I was going to say, I'm going to change it.
Ross, do it now.
Yeah. Oh my god. How do I...
Sam's bank details are.
No, not only that, I said it's the password that I use when I don't give a shit about everything. all these Russian bots are going to be absolutely spamming me now for.
Can someone Google how to change my Twitter password? Oh, here we go.
Don't worry, Ross. Who cares? No one's watching this. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I'll change it afterwards. Sort pin code 11111.
Just something about that bottle Sam made it look like a wine bottle. I was like, that looks like a really long bottle. Is Sam swigging from a bottle of wine?
Yeah, the perspective of that. What?
Yeah.
Oh, forced perspective. It's Lord of the Rings. That's what I'm doing. Right, so if we refresh that now, what happens? Ah, look, it has us there live. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I'll send it to Andy and Corey.
I've sent a security email to the Imaginary Pod email, Sam. So let me know when you get that code.
For that one, Sam, while we're here.
Yeah, chuck them out.
Cheese.
What's your bank details? I want to give you money. That's why I'm
Just
asking.
get my card, 2 seconds, just put it, turn it around.
Just get my pen here. Right. Yeah, go ahead. See, you know, when we were talking earlier, Sam's like, well, yeah, we need to get used to video stuff. This is the type of stuff we need to...
Not doxing myself on the internet.
Oh,
Pretty basic. And you can reach me at number 10.
my name is Ross, and I live at, fuck it. I know I said my real address there. That's the
My
thing.
name's Dave, and I live in 1986.
Northern Europe is where I live. Please feel free to find me. Right.
Sounds like a challenge. You get that code, Sam?
Yeah, but I'll do it after. It's okay.
It's a really interesting stream is us resetting our Twitter password that we just gave out the password for.
Yup. Okay.
Really fun. Are we starting to record then or what?
Yeah,
What?
Just literally 30 seconds.
Okay. Recording now. When are we saying cheese?
Sam's just doing something.
Sam, when are we saying cheese?
2 seconds. Nicola was
Sam?
asleep before Callum, so I'm just making sure I heard a noise. Make sure that wasn't Callum.
No. When are we saying cheese?
I don't know.
40
10. 10.
10 seconds. Yeah, 10 seconds.
No. 45.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Although recording, yes. Cheese.
Oh, my phone locked.
Fucking hell. You set the time, Dave.
10. No, 32.
That's 32.
Yeah.
32.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
damn it.
This is professional.
Peak video stream here.
Cheese.
Cheese.
Instead of getting our video skills down, Sam, should we just get the audio down first? God damn.
Just basic speaking, I think, would be good.
Something about a cart and a horse relevant here. All right, let's just jump straight into this because I kind of want to talk about why this is so frightfully uninteresting.
I'm just putting out a tweet here.
Is it Sam's bank account?
Mother's maiden name, home address, all the details you could possibly need. Is it Falcon and the Winter Soldier? That's the name of it, isn't it? Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah.
Falcon and the Long Nap.
Okay, what's the link again? Oh, yeah, it's live. It's that's good. So I just need that link. That's cool.
Uneven number
of live.
We ready?
Yeah.
1 second.
Such compelling video. Let's watch Ross Twitter.
I'm just trying to get the right hashtag. Swipe.
Well, this will be a good test.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast, where instead of doing a movie this week, we watched the first 2 episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. My name's David, and funny bits have been temporarily put on hiatus.
Oh, well, I've got one. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Superheroes need to go to the bank just like you.
What did I just say, Sam? What did I just say?
No,
Well,
I'm
I
with Sam on
prepared
this
it.
one because I've got one too. And unlike Captain America, I can't do this all day.
Yes, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So this is you guys convincing me that we should carry on doing this weekly watch of Marvel shows.
I have to step in here and first of all say, put forth my unwavering apology. I thought this would be fun. Boy, was I
Wow.
wrong. Yeah, honestly, like, you were right.
That's the first time you've apologised for anything, Ross, I'm pretty
Ever.
sure.
In the history of my life.
So this show, we watched WandaVision, obviously, for the podcast, and we did a reasonably weekly review of that, although we missed several weeks.
Well, let's not draw attention to that, Dave. Fucking glaze over that.
Oh, sorry, Ross. Our fans will be disgusted they hadn't picked up on that. So we quite liked WandaVision on the whole. I think it was trying to do something different. And this was like all the most boring bits out of any Captain America film. And Chris Evans isn't even in it, you know?
No. It's everything that. So let's go back to WandaVision for a moment, because that's a show. As long-time listeners will know, I'm not a big MCU person. I've literally not even seen Endgame. No interest. Well, whatever happens. But here comes WandaVision. Here comes a new show that's trying something different. It's trying something new, and we're seeing exciting ideas. We're seeing new ideas in presented in a way that we haven't seen before. And then this show just went, nope, we're rejecting all that. We're just going to go back to the same boring shit. And then we're going to make it even more boring than it possibly was before, which is extraordinary when you think about it. Like, it's mad that the things that we see in these episodes.
I've sort of got my foot in each of your camps, guys. We all loved, to some extent, WandaVision. I was going to say Wanda and the Vision. I've taken their name. But we all loved, to some extent, WandaVision, and the excitement over, certain threads being pulled, is this, because there was one point where I thought they were going to bring in X-Men somehow, but there were so many things to get our teeth into and still be interested in the core concept of the show. And this, 2 episodes in, and first of all, I think it's a mistake to air this before WandaVision, because this just seems so lackluster compared to what WandaVision delivered, and I was just disappointed. And And I think it's because, you guys mentioned before, Captain America isn't in it, and he's one of my favorites, and it's just, I think there was so much there that could be done with it, and it's just, they seem to be asleep at the wheel. But there's 4 episodes left.
That's the most astounding thing, really, isn't it? They've announced there's going to be 6 episodes of this. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And number 1, pick 2 more uninteresting characters from the movies. And we've had two 50-minute episodes. And for me, it's kind of like combining the 2 worst things about the MCU. Is there's the really slow-moving minutia of the Marvel universe and these people living ordinary lives, which absolutely does not work in this setting. However, I do think there are stories to be told about that. This just isn't that, because it culminates in another punch fight. It's basically the first episode, absolutely nothing happens. The second episode exists for that fight on top of the trucks is oh yeah, well, we had this budget, so we spent it all on this fight on top of these trucks, but that meant we couldn't hire any writers.
You mentioned it, so I'm just going to drill into it now. That fight on top of the trucks. For all intents and purposes, Bucky, I can understand, and the new Captain America, sure, which we'll touch on in a second. But yeah, I know, Sam, but let's try and compartmentalize this. So you've got Captain America. He's got a new sidekick as well. I was like, oh, this is touching on some stuff. And then you have Bucky. So those 3 guys, presumably, they have this some form of super serum, or they are some form of superhuman, right? Metahuman. Falcon isn't. He's never shown to be, super strength or speed or anything. How is he holding his own with these guys who are literally, they call them super soldiers, so they are on par with what Steve Rogers is. Steve Rogers, don't forget, blocked a punch from Thanos somehow. The same Thanos that beat the ever-loving crap out of Hulk.
Let's not have this be the Marvel who is more powerful than everyone else thing.
Power scaling.
Because as we discussed,
well, that's what I mean. It's another example of how they just they don't. Well, yeah, but
can I just settle on nerves a little bit? Let's take a little sip of whiskey. Let's just relax and calm down. I think we should maybe do it an episode at a time. We've watched 2 episodes of this. First episode, second episode, because I think there is an interesting tone theme thing that goes on between the 2. In case you don't know, however, this show follows the events of Endgame, and we see Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes team up in a global adventure that tests their abilities and their patience. So this is like
is that the actual?
That's what IMDb says. Yeah, not our patience, perhaps. But this is I've read enough to know what's happened with the blip and all that stuff. It's all very fine, whatever. But this is okay, so now everything's been resolved. Thanos is gone, Iron Man's dead, whatever else, there's all these other things that have happened. And we're kind of left with, now what do we do? There isn't really much need for these Avengers anymore. And so there's an interesting idea there about how do you slot in Avengers into a world that doesn't need them anymore. It reminds me of that the plot of the Incredibles movie, which is always fun. Go away, we don't need you anymore. That type of thing where people rail against superheroes. But the problem is that when you take all of the elements of what makes superheroes interesting away, you're kind of left with what we see here.
Also, so in the first episode, these guys aren't superheroes, Sam. I just want to be really, really clear on that.
No, but
Bucky is an ex-assassin with mental problems, and the Falcon is a guy with a new type of jetpack that he can fly. That the government gave
Avengers. Him. Yeah, but they are Avengers.
Well,
so
Falcon is sort of. No one. The Winter Soldier isn't an Avenger, Sam. The Winter Soldier is a war criminal.
Oh God, this is the type of nerdery that I can't deal with, Dave.
It's not nerdery. Literally, I have literally watched Captain America: Civil War with you, Sam, where these characters are introduced.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is though we're left after Endgame with this void of, well, there's nothing left for anyone to do, and we've seen WandaVision, which I think was a kind of good step after that in terms of here's some threads that were left over. But the biggest thing for me is, who cares? Who cares what these guys are doing, because they're not particularly interesting characters in themselves, you know. Should we talk about episode 1 and what happens? Maybe go through some of the plot, and then we can some of the plot, and then we can go through the next episode, and that might keep our discussion grounded without us just ranting.
Well, the first episode, to my mind, largely follows two distinct threads. So obviously the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are our titular characters. So the Winter Soldier, much like Tony Soprano, is going to therapy. And that's basically his plot line, is he's got court-appointed therapy he has to go to. We'll swing back to that. And the Falcon, his sister wants to sell the boat that their dad used to fish from. And that's somehow something we're interested in.
Fucking insane.
That's it. That's the entire plot of this first episode.
I don't get.
Go on, Ross.
Any of it. No, you continue, Sam. I'm trying to collect my thoughts on this.
It's again, it's just that thing of like, okay, cool, like you've got superheroes, and I'll be the first one to complain about the punch fights and everything, which is great. Yes, Ross. Yes, Dave. I've got all of this thing of I don't give a shit about them having punch fights and the power scaling and all that stuff is boring. And yet, so I'm also complaining they're not doing anything. You know, like, so there's got to be a balance somewhere in between, which I think is what WandaVision managed to, you know, really get right. But this is literally in the first episode. Falcon goes to the bank. He just goes to the bank to get a loan, and I'm honestly thinking, what the hell am I watching? Like, what is actually going on that this is interesting? Now I know there are some like academic thought probably about how do the Avengers get paid? Like, do they have a salary? Who gives them food? Where do they live? And the movies never have time for that.
Well, the thing is, it's not something I ever pondered, and I would consider myself, you know, a fairly big fan of this series, but it's not something I ever wondered, because in my mind, Tony Stark's got the money. He's bankrolled the Avengers Initiative itself, you know, especially after Winter Soldier, when, you know, SHIELD, you know, went awry, blah blah. Tony Stark's been bankrolling it. The guy's like, you know, one of the richest people on the planet. He's like, you know, the Marvel version of Jeff Bezos. So I don't understand that never came up for me. Like, Tony Stark's paying them. Tony Stark is looking after them. End of, you know.
And they address that, don't they, in this, and they say, it says no, I don't have any income. There is like an interesting question about the blip in terms of what happens to people who haven't had any income for 5 years because they were. I think the sister got blipped. Did she? I think
no.
And
the
so
Falcon did.
Oh, the Falcon, right? So he has no income for 5 years. So what happens when they come back and these people didn't exist? They were assumed dead. They have no tax returns, whatever else. Again, it's like it's an academic question. It's the type of thing that I would go on Wikipedia and read about and go, oh, cool, and then close tab and move on my life. You know, there's all these things. On the other side, we get possibly actually, I was quite compelled by is Bucky's story about the guy, the old man that he's hanging around with.
Yes,
which doesn't really make any sense until you see that Bucky killed his son in a pretty cold-blooded way, and he's
pretty pointless way. I think that's the actually like not a horribly done scene is kind of like, you know, he just murders his son for no particular reason, just because he's there, and he kills people. He's like, I'll kill him.
I couldn't help but like be a little bit like tickled by that, because, you know, everyone has trouble, you know, with those hotel room keys, and this is how they showed. This is why he hasn't entered. Goddamn room keys not working again. Like, this is why he lost his life.
It's a great scene because he's staring at this guy like snap necks and stab people, and he's desperately trying to put the key in, but he's not looking, so he's just like tapping it around the lock. Yeah, he keeps doing it until the guy kills him. He's like, oh!
Hiding a plant or something, man. Like, if you haven't got it working now, do something else.
You play possum. This guy is not here for you. You lie down on the floor and you hope you aren't hit by debris. That's the call in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
But that's a Russian mobster. He's being murdered. I don't want any of this.
but they do pay it off kind of well in that he see him again. He's just hanging around with this guy. I do wonder how he like approached that thing of hello, old man. Do you want to be friends? Is that what you want to do? You just want to hang out? Like, there's no real reason that they kind of sell it as. But he is. We do get a nice reveal where he opens the door and there's a wee, like a shrine to this guy's dead son. And we see that he's obviously on some kind of redemption arc from all the horrible shit that he's been doing for the last 100 years or whatever it is that he's been alive.
So here's what I was just going to think, because you're right, Sam. He's on this redemption arc, like you say, and I couldn't help but think that's the TV show you want. Do you know what I mean? Just like an old 80s sitcom, like the Hulk in the 80s. He's going town to town, solving mysteries, making sure bad guys get their comeuppance. I'd watch that all day. Bucky, I think, is actually a pretty cool character. I'd like to see more of him.
Don't worry though, Ross. They dropped that immediately. You're okay.
Oh, you're interested in that? That's funny because it's done. It's over.
We burnt it. We took it outside and we
on.
shot it.
It does, and we do get a little bit of this later on when we see Falcon and the Winter Soldier together. Like, they do have a kind of interesting dynamic together. Like, there's a little bit of them, bickering, and in the same way that all the Avengers.
I would just say something. They would have an interesting dynamic if it felt earned.
Yes,
like if there was a real reason why these guys didn't play nice, like there would be something there.
Well, the reason is because, like you've seen Winter Soldier, Dave, and it started off where he was killing people, and so Falcon and Bucky have never got on. So that does make sense, but I think you're right. It's not earned enough because seemingly these guys would have bonded after the end of Endgame, or show us a reason why they didn't. Do you know what I mean? Or show us why they had a difference of opinion.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is, Ross. I'll tell you exactly what it is. You ever had a friend, and like you've had groups of friends with people that you would never really hang out with by yourself, but you all know like one person, right?
This is pretty awkward. Yeah,
I know.
For me too, as well. Actually,
yeah, for all of us.
Let's just get rid of Dave, shall we? We can just remove him.
And what I'm saying is, so Captain America's this guy they both know, and they go to parties, they go to the pub, they're like, oh, well, that guy's all right, he's okay, but like, I'm really there to hang out with Captain America, I'm not really like interested. Yeah. And then suddenly, Captain America's dead, and you're like, oh fuck, all I've got is this guy, I don't really like this guy, suddenly I'm stuck with him. Are we friends? What's the dynamic here? Are we going to keep hanging out? Can I somehow like break up with this guy?
Especially Bucky, who just seems pretty pathetic. Like, he seems like he's a guy who, he doesn't have a long hair anymore, which I appreciate. Get rid of that long hair. He's certainly improving. But he does feel like, he's just hanging around with some old guy. Like, what's he doing? He doesn't even know. I think
he needs they need to ramp the PTSD up to like 1,000. This guy needs to be like coming to in a shop, like ripping the head off a giant teddy bear. Like this Jason guy needs to have yes, he needs to have like a proper like mental thing, and like, do you know what I mean? Because it makes him more compelling. Whereas him being, don't take this the wrong way, him being sad because he was a murderer, like, it's just not very compelling. It's not done well enough to make me give a fuck.
And the way that they actually address his like PTSD is through this therapy session that we talked about. Whoever's directing this woman is just completely tonally missing what it's supposed to do, because
never met a therapist in her life.
She's just throwing out the jokes, and then the insults, and then the jokes. Like, she's just spent the whole time just being like, well, you need to. And it's like, she's just been.
You're fucking pathetic. Ah!
I would very much question the credentials on her wall.
100%.
We need to do some background checks here, guys.
100%. What are you doing? You can't talk to clients like that. I don't care if he's a superhero. Like, what are you doing? It's just insane.
Especially because he's ripped people's heads off. You know that, right? And you're there.
Man has a robot arm. He's 120 years old and he has a robot arm. Like, maybe let's get an accredited doctor to look at this guy.
Yeah, he's definitely going to listen to you.
The opposite side of this, excuse me, is what Sam's up to. Is what the
making gumbo.
I mean, like, I'm going to try and be fair. I'm going to try and be fair and say it's interesting to see what the Avengers are doing, or whatever, Dave. these people are doing on their off days. Like, these guys aren't working anymore. They're not fighting Thanos. They're not doing whatever they were doing. And so we get to see him try and revert back into real life. Like there's an interesting, again, it's like
There are
Incredibles style
There are some
thing.
nice bits. There are some nice like plot points that I find interesting, like the dynamic he has with the sister. I find interesting because she resents the fact that he's been gone for 5 years. Like, there's something to be explored there, that he comes back and wants to take charge, and she's like, "Actually, dude, you've been gone for 5 years, and I've been fine, so you need to back off." You know, like, it's a nice family thing, and it kind of raises like an interesting point about all these people who disappeared and suddenly come back. Like, actually, if you've already grieved for somebody and, you know, they're dead and then suddenly they reappear, like, that is going to lead to tension. And there's a TV show there. But does any of the what happens in episode 1? And, like, honestly, I watched episode 2 this afternoon. If episode 2 was the first episode to this TV show, would you get what was going on? Would you want and need anything from that first episode?
I thought you were going to ask a different question there.
No.
I thought you were going to ask, if you watched episode 2 first, would you watch episode, what would have been 2 then? And for me, I probably wouldn't, because I have really switched off after the most recent episode. But I'm talking about episode 1 here, so apologies. Continue.
Well, no. But I think it's a good question, because, like, I think if you didn't, I think episode 1 could be removed. Like, if that was me, I'd be like, let's get rid of that whole thing.
Unless you're
going
going
to
to
the
lean
bank.
into it. Unless you're going to lean into it and tell a story that isn't about these guys punching bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a 6-part series. You can tell a story about, like, these people coping with readjusting and coping with loss, and turn it into more of like an emotional, dramatic TV show that isn't about this guy's got a metal arm, so that enables him to punch other people who somehow don't then be hurt by his punches.
Yeah. The whole thing is like, it doesn't feel particularly energized, or, you know, and there's a bigger discussion, I think, to be had about the role of this type of TV show, and because it's all there to like facilitate what's happening in the wider MCU. I think that causes a heck of a lot of problems, because they don't get any opportunity to tell like individual stories, because they're spending the vast majority of the episode referencing back to other things that have happened in the MCU. So they're like, oh, the new Captain America because he's dead, or he got blipped, so there's the impact of that. Where it's like, back to WandaVision, what did they do? They told an individual, discrete story that could exist outside of the MCU, and so it was compelling, and obviously they did it in an interesting, novel way. And I just think that they're too focused on fan service. They're too focused on like delivering, especially in this first episode, all those callbacks to the stuff that's happened in the movies, and that's actually to the detriment of the story they're telling now. Like, yeah, we've seen them. Just what have you done for me lately? You know,
It's more than WandaVision. Like I said, this show is trying to, like, this is paving groundwork for the new like MCU films, and in a much more overt way. Like, we'll get into episode 2 in a minute, but like, there's a lot of unpacking. We're setting up a lot of we're basically setting up a lot of pieces on the chessboard. You know, like, you've got Falcon and Bucky, you've got the new Captain America and his black sidekick, and you've got you know, the evil organization that they're chasing, and then you've also got the shadowy broker chasing them. Like, they're basically putting all this stuff in to then, like, oh, have you heard of them? Oh, we're gonna have a film where they're the bad guy. Like, but ultimately that's absolutely like not interesting to watch. Like, you actually need to build a TV show around this unpacking of like exposition. You need to like keep me engaged.
It comes back to that comparison with WandaVision, where, you know, you guys have mentioned all those callbacks to the movies, and if we didn't have WandaVision, I think then those would be, you know, maybe not more needed, but we wouldn't have as much problem with them. But because WandaVision did it so well, I'm like, yeah, we get it, we're caught up. You could make an argument that maybe they're doing that for the people who didn't watch WandaVision, but I would argue that's a very small skew of people, because they're both on Disney Plus. If you've watched this, if you're planning to watch Winter Soldier, you've probably watched WandaVision.
Yep. You're not accidentally like coming across this, are you? Like, this is the problem with WandaVision as well. Actually, like, you're not accidentally watching it. It's not like, oh, there's this new thing on Disney. Oh, it's a Marvel show. No, you know what it is. you're seeking it out, and you're
The voice is
watching it
unnecessary, but
because
yes,
of
I
that.
agree.
That's what they sound like, Ross. That's what they sound like. People who don't know
That's
what they
we
want to
sound
watch.
like. But One Division had. I mean, you're walking around where I live, and there's One Division billboards everywhere. Like it was all over telly. They actually pumped quite a lot of marketing budget into promoting.
Not to
One
sound
Division.
like a country bumpkin, but I could not tell you the last time I saw a billboard.
Because you live in the 18th century.
This is not the opposite episode, guys. This is not where we address that.
But what obviously they haven't done that for this because it's way less compelling and way less interesting. But they are relying on the fact that people will have, the people like me, the leftovers, who were like, oh, well, I guess I'll put this on next, and then shut off, which makes the first episode even more baffling that they just go so.
Speaking
boring.
marketing, I have seen. We should mention, like, there was a campaign on YouTube. There's like YouTube ads of Falcon and the Winter Soldier with like the Falcon playing on an Xbox or something.
Yeah.
Ross, you sent us something like that, and I've seen, not just from you, I did see something separately as well.
There's two separate ones. The one I sent you where he's playing games.
What?
And he's playing games on Xbox Games Pass.
He's in like a Curry's, Sam.
And basically,
the guy's like, "Oh, have you seen the Xbox?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm the Falcon from Marvel."
Number one, it's a retail store. It's a retail store, and given the current climate,
retail's dead.
You guys are really out of touch. Number one. Number two, because they got it's really hammy. I enjoyed it, but only because it was so over the top cheesy. It entertained me. And he was like, they were going through some different games. Like, do you drive? And then they're playing Forza or something. And he's like, dude, I fly. I'm like, okay, that's enough of that now. That's that. Yeah, you're done.
A lot. It's a real. I'll tell you what it is. It feels like an early '90s advert, but like somehow
I thought, like, do you guys remember when
done as a joke? It's not like satire. This is a genuine, like, hey, guys, marketing execs, I've got a fantastic idea about how we can market this TV program to fucking nerds. They love Xbox. They love going to a Curry's and talking to the sales staff.
It's like when when Bill Gates got like The Rock to introduce the Xbox.
Yeah.
He's like, the most electrifying console in sports. No, stop it. I love The Rock.
A cue card.
This is not it.
Let's talk about episode 2 before we talk about more adverts.
Episode 2 is boring.
Well, episode. Now, perhaps it was my state of mind because I did watch episode 1 on Friday night, and it was like 10 or something ridiculous.
Sam was not a happy bunny.
Oh, see, that's odd because I watched episode 1 and I was like, okay, like, some notes here, but you've got me on the line here. And episode 2 just dropped me. But continue, Sam.
Well, but because episode 2, and maybe I think it was what we on. It was Saturday night about the same time, but I was a bit less tired after a bit more of a relaxing day off work, so I was maybe a little bit more receptive. And then the show just decided just to throw all that away anyway, and didn't really double down on my receptiveness to it. I mean, I guess there's more things happen. Like there's a bit more actiony. It's a bit more kind of focused on, like the plot, the ongoing plot. There's these other group of people who are also super soldiers coming in. There's a bit more going on. I really liked the moment when, well, I thought it was interesting the moment when the Falcon was like racially profiled, which was just
Can I just say I saw that coming?
That almost said something, didn't it? But at the same time,
almost
like yes, you could be upset because you're being profiled by the police. However, then it flips to like, I'm a fucking celebrity. You should know who I am. Like, and I'm like, this is a mixed message.
Well, to be fair, it was Bucky saying they should know who Falcon is, not Falcon saying, "Do you know who I am?"
But still,
what I'm saying is, it's an opportunity to like actually like comment on, and with them making another white Captain America, like there's an opportunity there to be like, do you know what I mean?
With
there's
the black
an opportunity
sidekick.
there. Exactly, there's an opportunity there for like, you can have that, and that's fine. But there's an opportunity to like have a commentary and have like Sam say, like, oh well, if I was a white man, wouldn't do you think they would have fought to have him be Captain America and to say something and to actually like exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Captain America then, because the plot of this is pretty rambling, but
This guy has a weird face.
it does. So
In
there's a
that
new
mask.
Captain America. So I don't know if this is a thing that's in the comics.
Don't
or if
worry,
this has
audience.
been-
He's a blonde white guy.
Yeah, he is. Now,
Yeah.
that is honestly the first thing I thought is like, you've got a new opportunity for a Captain America, and what do you do? What do you do? And I know in reality, like, he would be a white guy, right? He would
No,
be
no,
a
no, no,
white
no,
guy.
no. That's not what I was. Can I jump in here because
Go on.
I've got a theory here, and I think you guys might have mentioned it beforehand. So apologies if I'm repeating you. But in the comics, Sam, you've asked this thing. It's quite a common thing where there's been a few Captain Americas. I mean, in the comics, there was one point where Bucky was Captain America. I think at one point Falcon was too, and there was another sort of individual who became Captain America. I think he was sort of African American as well. So there have been a few people that picked up the shield, so to speak.
This character, by the way, is a comic book character, I think. Like, he was his own. He was at one point, I can't remember his name, but John Walker, I think. He was at some point Captain America, but he's also a superhero in his own right as well.
Right. So but my theory is, because when I first saw him, I was like, oh, another dickhead. And like you, Dave, said, like, oh, don't worry, he's white and blonde.
Another fucking boring white dude. Please, God.
My
God
theory
forbid
is,
we put a woman in this outfit or someone.
God
of
forbid
colour.
you let me finish the sentence.
Never.
Right, Dave, I'm going to mute you now.
Thank you, Sam. Take him out of here.
Go on.
My theory is because there's no conflict if Falcon immediately takes up that mantle, so to speak, of Captain America's shield. So I think that's the point where he gives it back. And now this guy, he takes. I can't remember his name, Dave. What's his name?
It
What's the
belongs
character?
in a museum. John Walker.
John Walker. So, and first when you see him through the public facade, he's like, oh yeah, he's all American, humble guy. And then you start to see, that sorts of cracks in the mask where near the end of the episode where he basically warns Falcon and Bucky to stay out of his way. So I think the where it's going is he's going to turn out to be an asshole. There's a reason as well why the Captain America, the new Captain America's partner is black, because they want him, the white guy, to be the asshole. And so basically Falcon then has this arc where he finally feels worthy of it and takes it off him. And so that's why he doesn't have it to start. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's something to aim for, isn't it? It's kind of like a conclusion. Like you said, Ross, it's you can see it at 10 miles away, but like it's conflict that they're putting into this TV show.
But it's so foreseeable. That's the problem.
It is the problem, and it's not handled particularly well. And you maybe need for a fix, you maybe need a scene in episode 1 rather than the speech scene where he puts the shield in a museum. You maybe have a speech where like he is meeting with some shady government official and being like, listen, he gave me this shield. I don't think we need Captain America anymore. But he can do his whole thing, but like, just show me it. Just show me all of that. And then like, he doesn't want to be Captain America. He doesn't want to be paid. That's why he's going to the bank, because he's poor. And then like, and the government are like, oh yeah, that's fine. We'll totally do that. And then they go around and give the shield to a white guy because, racism.
Also, here's where I had a problem with the sort of the logistics of it, because for all intents and purposes,
logistics cast.
For all intents and purposes, for all the government is aware, the shield got destroyed because when Captain America was fighting Thanos, he split the shield with his double-bladed sword thing, and that got basically split in half. The shield that Falcon gets is basically a shield from another timeline, so they shouldn't know that exists unless Falcon is waving about, hey, our boys, look what I got. You know what I mean? Putting it on eBay.
He had it in a wee bag, didn't he? Taking it on the train
like a carry bag.
to the
What
bank.
it is, Ross, what it is the Falcon. The Falcon is a
Don't worry
really
about it.
good dude. Like he's honest, he's upright, he's just he's gonna give this shield back, and he's gonna like
He tried
put it
selling
in
it on eBay.
museum.
Yeah,
maybe. I just think the Sam character from the Falcon character from Marvel, like, it's always been a very uninteresting character because like he doesn't really have a personality. He's just like, he's honest and he flies and he has the robot and he's like, there's just nothing there. And then you go into this, and the Winter Soldier is the same as well. Like, you put two really, really, really bland characters in this, and then don't flesh them out or give them flaws.
Yeah, And that's
have
and
the Winter
that's,
Soldier murder a bunch of chickens because he flips out because he's got PTSD. Into that, okay.
that's very specific.
He rips the head off a
Yeah,
cow.
these are weird examples.
This guy's got problems. Well, you can't have him murdering people. That's a wrong message. But like animals,
You're going to get us flagged off YouTube account.
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Captain America, right? Do you think this is a test balloon? Are they going to pursue this character, this actor, as Captain America and like try and pump him into the movies? Or, I mean, obviously, Chris Evans is done, isn't he? He's done.
Yes.
He doesn't want to do this.
He's done and then some.
Like he's
going to go home and count his money.
And it seems like, I mean, it's quite funny. I find it quite funny that they are literally like bringing Captain America a lot back to life through this other character, who I think was a bad guy initially. I was just googling. He was called U.S. Agent and then Patriot Man or something. Like he was basically a villain who eventually became.
I'd read a bit, and I don't think he was a villain as such, Sam. I think he was maybe like,
that's what it
just
says.
one of these.
That's what it says.
I apologize.
Yeah.
So
anyway, but my question was: do you think they're going to basically carry on? Like, are they putting him in this show to see how audiences react, and are they going to pump him into the wider MCU? It's not necessarily a question we need to tackle now, but just as a thought of like, they don't want to be throwing away these characters who are the ones that kids run around pretending to be. Like Callum has every single bloody costume in Under the Sun from the MCU. He doesn't give a shit about the Falcon.
Really.
Like he doesn't care about these minor characters, the Bucky Barnes and all this stuff.
You know what, Sam? I would think before WandaVision, I would say, that's a damn good theory. However, knowing how the MCU sort of, TV miniseries have done in the past, where remember when we thought they were going to bring an X-Men, I think they do this just so people get riled up on Twitter and are like, oh, this is what they're going to do. And then they're like, nope. Oh, you thought we were no.
We're going to make a dick joke out of it.
It's all buzz.
I'm surprised his last name isn't Johnson.
Can we talk about that? So the other thing with this episode 2 is like we're verging, and perhaps this is what's going to happen. Right? I'd love it if it did, but we're verging on some kind of buddy comedy, buddy cop, like.
That's what I thought this was going to be. Yeah,
I mean that's what I want. I honestly want them to in the same.
Do you know
way
what I want for that though, Sam? I want some comedy, like just
exactly.
Something I can chuckle or smile at, rather than my face in this was.
Yeah, perhaps they're getting there. Perhaps we're building up to it. But I just felt like this. What this
episodes,
needs,
Sam. We've watched a third of this.
Yeah. Well, what it needs is like it needs to have the same self-awareness that
WandaVision did.
Yep. It needs to be like, we're going to do something different to make you go, oh, right. I would just love if they just leaned on every single trope. Every single trope from, like your 45-minute procedural TV show, and had them going around solving mysteries, like you say, Ross, with in a green and in a green.
You can still have the same. You can still have the same bad guys. You know what I mean? Like the government doesn't believe them. They're not going to help them. They're sort of like, all right, we're going to take these guys down, and they go from city to city. One of them says, "Let's split up, gang." Turns out they have masks. They do have masks, and then it's not who they think they are. Oh, maybe Hydra's back. I don't care. I just want them cracking.
They've got away with it.
There's half of a. Someone mentioned the Bourne films earlier. There is half of a Bourne film in like bits of this, and if you remember. The Captain America and the Winter Soldier and the Winter Soldier, whichever Captain America it was, with all the jump cuts and when the Winter Soldier was introduced.
Who cares?
That has like a European sort of like they're chasing around cities in Europe. Like you kind of get a bit of that in this, and I would be interested to see like a spy
Civil
thriller.
War you're talking about. Sorry to interrupt. Civil War you're talking about. I think
no, the one before that. I think anyway. What? It's not important. It's not important.
No.
You're probably right.
Definitely am.
Shut up. It's like a spy thriller would be like an interesting way to take this, but they kind of like they sit in that really like safe, well-worn territory of like we're going to go to Europe and we're going to like infiltrate this base, by which we mean we're going to walk in loudly arguing and then be discovered, We're then going to have a fight. We're then going to come back to the base where we're going to talk about how we fucked up and how that was shit. And then, like, there's a lot of like 6-hour flights, 9-hour flights in this second episode. And
where's the downtime? Where's the downtime
just
of them playing cards or them again? Like, give
great
us some
character
comedy.
development opportunity.
Give us some chance for a single fucking grain of levity. Like, that's all I want. I just want someone to throw a pie. Like, why are we so serious all the time about everything?
Especially considering, when we were discussing Zack Snyder's Justice League, in the last episode, especially considering when we mentioned how well the Marvel universe brings levity to these situations and gives each character the required camera time so you have those spontaneous, funny and comical moments. For all of that, it's so transparently missing from this.
They're trying to do it and they just don't.
Yeah.
So there's a moment they keep saying, Falcon says, "Oh well, what is it? Is it aliens, androids, or wizards?"
Yes.
And like that is meant to be the that's a really funny line. However,
but considering they've nearly faced all three, that's
it's not actually funny. If these guys had like a funny back and forth, like you said, a buddy comedy. If one of these guys was fat or in a wheelchair, we might have something here. If these guys had like a comedic relationship, that might be a like, oh, so what is it this time? What is it this time, Sam? Is it aliens or androids or wizards? And then they can have the wizards argument and like the Gandalf argument without him being like, I read it when it came out in 1937. But that example, how stupid do you think we all are?
That would be funny if your boss said it to you for being late. Well, what was it? Androids, wizards, or whatever. But if he said, well, what was it? Death in the family, slept in, or car trouble? It was a death in the family.
I'm laughing at that.
Like,
what's wrong
because
with me?
It's actual things that you could face. It's not funny anymore.
Yeah. It comes to I think like my big problem with the MCU, my big problem with this, and not with WandaVision, is that it's not offering anything new. Like there is not a shred of anything novel in this where we can say, oh, here's a new take on this, or here's a different theme we're exploring. They're exploring the pain of being a superhero. Check, done that before. They're exploring like, oh, I have to be so disciplined. I have to sacrifice so much to take on this role for the greater good. Like, this is all stuff we've heard all the way back in 90s Batman movies and stuff. Like, this is nothing new. The MCU has plowed that field so heavily. We're bringing up fucking Roman treasure. Like, it's just ridiculous how much they've had the opportunity to explore all this stuff. Yeah. And in I think why I'm so disappointed is because in WandaVision we got loads of that. We got loads of like genuine small stories. WandaVision ended up being about her and her family. That's what it was about. It was
the Scarlet Witch origin story. Yeah, it
wasn't about the MCU. It was about her protecting her family, and that was important. And in this, just to finish. In this, we get nothing that's going to tell us more about what the characters are feeling. We don't get anything new. It's all just the same old stuff rehashed.
Yep.
It's like I said, it's not doing anything new. And the biggest problem with WandaVision was like a bit of an experimental limited series where they were doing something a bit different, where you had like the theme every week for the first 7 episodes. Like, they were trying to go for a very specific like genre aesthetic type thing, and they did a really good job of it because they had people behind the camera and in the writing room saying, right, this week we're doing an homage and a send up to 50s TV shows. What can we do? What can we use? Like, what's going to get people to go, oh, that's really cool. Like, and they did a fantastic job. What is this show? This show is a 6-episode Marvel film, and not a good 6-episode Marvel film. What it needs to be is a genre film. This needs to be a thriller. This needs to be a buddy cop show. This needs, and then you take. Sorry, Ross, I'll let you come in.
No, go.
And then you take these characters and you put them into that genre, into that like establishment. Have these guys not forming a private detective company, but have them solving crimes in Middle America.
Please,
like have them like they get a job and right. So we've got this problem with the blip. All these metahumans have come back. We need you to go and find. oh, it's Electric Man. You've got to go. You have a villain of the episode, and every episode they have to go and find some guy. But no, it's another boring, stagnant. We're hunting a terrorist cell, and they're not really terrorists.
No, Ross, you can come in right after this. Move them to Arkansas. Move them to the shithole nowhere, and just see what happens. That's what I want to do. Go on, Ross.
Yeah, no. It was. I'm just agreeing with everything Dave said, and it's with this series. You could take this out of the MCU, and nothing much would change. You still, you change the character names, and it would still be the same show. Oh, action! It could be a pilot light. Do you know what I mean? Or a pilot episode of a brand new series. There's nothing specific to the MCU.
2021 to 2021.
Yeah. But you mentioned with WandaVision, they did those 7 episodes that were all, within a certain thematic range. It's because it was delivered in such a way that got people like Sam, who's a guy who switched off from the MCU after Age of Ultron, and managed to grab him and get him interested again. And by God, if this just didn't reverse that effect, like WandaVision pulled Sam in, and Winter Soldier has just basically repelled him back out again.
the only thing I would say, we are on episode 2. Like we should maybe see how this progresses. I'm not gonna
no. Hear me out here. I see what you mean, Sam.
You guys.
I don't know why you're saying that, but like I
because
would generally.
I'm trying to be objective.
I would generally
agree
with you.
And say, like, we need to maybe see where this.
You're objectively volunteering me and Dave. That's
I'm not watching it. But
these episodes are 50 minutes each. An hour and 40 minutes of my time. I could have watched a movie. We have watched movies better. We could have watched significantly less than half of the Snyder Cut. We have watched movies shorter than this and complained about how they wasted our time. So actually, I don't think that we should be objective and say that, like, even if the remaining 4 episodes of this are amazing and it becomes, there's still going to be that sour taste of, like, it's so disrespectful for me as somebody who watches your show that you did not bother trying to, like, engage me in the first 2 episodes. And I just, fuck them. I'm going to watch it because I'm weak, and what else am I going to do? Watch something else?
Your disgust is surprising, Dave, but I wouldn't blame you for it because I'm in the same boat. I just feel like
I'm going to watch it, Ross. They've really got my balls in a vice.
I love the passion, the anger that you've channeled there, Dave, and then you end it with, I'll watch it though. And this is,
I'm not going to lie, like
this is the problem. This is my final note that I had. Right, is about the nerds. This is what the nerds want. This is what the MCU demands. The MCU gods demand that we have more stories like this from some fucking minor character that comes up 2 times in the whole thing. Oh, let's deep dive on him, which again is cool, but if everything we're doing, right, is in terms of the Marvel stories, if everything we're doing is there to serve the MCU, then we are going to suffer from having new, more interesting stories. And if you take that argument further, I think there's a real threat of, like, this is just like a new monoculture that we're developing, which is it's all superheroes all the time, and every single thing is going to be explored through the lens of how it affects either DC superheroes or MCU super, whatever it is, and we never get anything new, and like, so all these themes, all these ideas are just distilled down into what is the most sellable thing possible, and which superhero can we get to do it.
It's not even just that, Sam. It must be significantly cheaper to write a 6-episode series. If you can just rip all of the characters and probably most of the stories from a comic book, if somebody's already done the hard work of writing the story and you just have to put dialogue into it, like, of course they're going to keep doing it because they can spend all the money on expensive punch fights on top of lorries.
Because it's made them billions, hundreds of billions tens of billions at least, but a lot of money,
You've mentioned superhero, Sam, and I want to touch on that in a second. But before I do, I just want to say we've had our first ever comment, so I'm going to address this. So Belboo is just saying, "Hey guys, so thanks very much, Belboo, for tuning in. You are our first live audience member, so thank you very much."
There we go.
So nicely done, Sam. And if I'm not mistaken, that profile picture is like from an episode of WandaVision. So fair play.
Do I believe?
I
On
thought I
branding,
did think
I
for a
like it.
second. I did think, is that a porn bot? And no, that is Wanda. That's good. That's excellent. Good to be here. Thanks for
I
being
hope to
here.
God it's not a
It's
porn bot.
it's a
now.
really low bar. Like, you want a bot trying to sell us
And-
imaginary sex?
And thank you,
Fantastic.
Brazzers, for sponsoring this show.
I wish we had Brazzers sponsorship money.
I mean,
Excellent.
I'm not
No,
going to
thanks.
turn down money, but
Thanks, Belby. That's it. Yeah, tell us more. Tell us what you think. But
Yeah.
who do you think should sponsor us?
well, go on, Ross. You were
Going
going
back
to
the
say.
superheroes point, because you're saying that we're sort of becoming, and unless I'm putting words in your mouth here, that we're becoming sort of saturated with the superhero genre, and I have to say that
Jean-Louis.
on Jean-Louis, I have to say on one point, I'm absolutely loving it. I love the superhero thing, and like I especially love DC stuff. However, with the
Big
caveat
wallowing
as
and shit.
but that's with the caveat that it has to maintain a certain level of quality. And I could be picking on Falcon and the Winter Soldier here, but I think we're in danger of people just pasting superheroes on some stuff, and then they're going to get an audience because it's trending at the moment. Where it needs to have more than just that superficial stuff. I mean, there are some. Go on, Dave.
I was going to say the quality needs to be better. We've had we've not even talked about any of it because none of us have watched it. But
Yeah.
the amount of live action superhero stuff that has come out in the last 5-10 years, there's a Titan show on Netflix maybe that I've seen
I
some
was
of.
just about to go on to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's loads of stuff.
we've seen the level of quality that can be done. So we've seen WandaVision, and the show you're referring to, Dave, is Titans, which basically goes on about Teen Titans, but they're like, or maybe a different show. But the one I'm inferring from you is the Netflix live action TV show
Is that
about
the one
Titans.
with? I've only watched a couple of episodes of it, and then
Go on.
I didn't care anymore. But Robin is a police officer
Yes,
in somewhere else.
exactly.
Yeah, and like
Love it.
there's
Love
loads
it.
of stuff. That's an example of one I haven't really watched, but there's loads of superhero themed stuff, and obviously there's all those Netflix like
Like Daredevil
the
and stuff like
Defenders
that.
series that was out, and like so I think we already are getting to the point where like everything is a superhero show. You've got the Flash and Arrow on the CW. They're quite big and have been going on for like lots of years now. Exactly, Sam.
Yeah.
So kind of like we're already approaching saturation. So what Disney needs to do, because obviously DC is incapable of it, as see our Zack Snyder Snyder Cut episode when it comes out.
Bite your goddamn tongue, first of all.
Ross, you need to
Careful.
re-listen to that. We are not that complimentary about the DC expanded universe.
Oh yeah.
We
Sorry,
are.
go on.
Well, you don't get to
but-
speak.
What Disney needs to do is they need to like make these shows good. If everything was as good as the first 7 episodes of WandaVision, like on that quality, if it's made with that intentionality, because that's the big thing about WandaVision is that they meant to make that show the way they made it. It's not that they made a show and it was just engaging because, of the people in it and things. And that is a factor. But it was good because they were going for something and they achieved it. This show, I don't know what it's going for and I'm not sure it's getting there. Even, do you know what I mean?
Swing and a miss.
And
we're
like
a third
it
of the way
needs
through.
to be good, especially a 6-episode series. It's so easy to like
Yeah.
come up with something satisfying.
But
to do
as
in that
we said,
time.
in the DC in the Zack Snyder Justice League episode, like all of this stuff is just pumped into the fans' veins. So any criticism can be neutered by saying, yeah, but it's for the fans, it's for the fan service, it's for MCU, like it serves the MCU god, and so who cares? And
Do you know
that
what
is-
I'm a fan of, Sam? Television, and I really want to watch some television.
Yeah.
like well-made, constructed television that's actually exploring new ideas, new things. And
The bottom line is the same production company have shown that it is possible with the show they released beforehand and with the show they're currently airing. They are completely missing the mark. So I don't see what a valid excuse can be. They've shown they can do it, and with this they simply aren't. So, and I don't know where that disconnect is.
yeah.
As
Let's-
usual, it's the writing. There was a real. I don't mean to keep saying this, but there's a real Iron Man 3 feel to this series so far.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yes.
if you guys saw that movie.
Is that the one with Mickey Rourke? Or is that
No,
That's
that's
two,
the
because I was going to say
second one.
it's Iron Man
That's
2
so much
vibes
better
for
than
me.
the third one, Sam.
Yeah, but it's still pretty shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
It's still pretty shit, but that's kind of like what they're going for, and it's like,
Yeah.
And the byline should be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Who could possibly care? I will say before we move on to any final thoughts you guys have got, the actor who plays the kind of like the head terrorist, they're terrorists who want a world government or something, and they're stealing medicines. So we'll see how terroristy they stay. She plays a very similar character in Solo: A Star Wars Story, which is a previous episode. She plays she's again wearing a mask, and she's like the leader of the rebels, which I just thought was just interesting that she's somehow being typecast into like moral terrorism.
Yeah. So I think we've completed our rants about this show. I'm curious.
Sam has
if you
fulfilled
guys...
his contractual obligation to watch this
I didn't
TV
want
show.
you a single penny of this more. I don't give a shit. I am curious if you guys are going to carry on. This has been a kind of special episode for us in terms of interrupting some of the movies. I also, depending on when we release this, we may also be an episode behind in terms of.
If you're upset,
no, it's live. It's live right now, so it's
It's live right now.
It's
but
live.
If you're upset about that, I guess prove to us that you listen to the show regularly, and we'll do better.
Yeah. If you are upset, Sam's given out our login credentials earlier, so come at us.
Go for it.
Do your worst.
Sam's bank details are.
Yeah, imaginopod@gmail.com, and let us know if you think we're idiots, which is a good bet actually that we are. I think, to be fair.
So what we might do for the future is, I think Ross and I will probably watch the rest of this. Obviously, Sam, you're out. You're in the wind. We get it. We get it.
No. I'll get to edit it. I'll get to edit it into a coherent episode of fucking audio. So don't worry about that. I've got loads.
What
of
I was
going to
say though was I'm not particularly enthused to do like a weekly treatment of this, Ross, unless we feel we need to when we watch the episode next week.
Maybe a summary at the very, very end.
That's what I was thinking. There's 4 episodes left, so in a month, we'll do a wrap up. Just Ross and I. None of this dickhead Sam
business.
Sam business. Oh, Sam. None of this.
I'm going to destroy you guys in the edit.
And,
it's going to be brilliant.
And we will talk then about.
I'm Ross. I think I know it all. Stop it, Sam.
Perfect rendition of Sam doing an impersonation of you. And we'll decide then whether this show was worth watching or whether we've wasted our time or, whether the MCU and Disney will continue to reap all of our money, which they probably will because, what else are you going to do? Watch something else? Watch an indie film? I don't think so.
No, disgusting. Right, guys, that was fun.
Go on. Before we say goodbye, I was just going to encourage people just to obviously like and follow this video. And you can find us on Twitter as well. We are Imaginary Pod. We have very low followers, so we could use the boost. So get liking.
Yeah, even one would be a large percentage
that would be
increase.
Fantastic. That's a 10% increase.
If we get 10 new followers on Twitter, Sam will watch the rest of this miniseries.
Wow, that is. I was going to say that's a low bar, but it's also a high bar.
Also, Sam has not agreed to consented to this, so.
Well, he's given out his address, so I don't think he's got a choice.
He's already doxed himself, yeah.
Right, guys, this has been fun, and we will see you next week.
See you next time. Take care, folks.
Hey, well done.
Okay, I've stopped recording now. I think if we're going to do more of these live stream sorts of episode styles, definitely want to clout the, like, subscribe, get us on Twitter sort of thing.
Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Smash
that like button and hit that subscribe.
Are we still live, Sam?
Yeah, we are still live. This is the after show.
I've stopped recording.
I'm paying attention, and I can see the little after show banner. I was like, "This fucker's trying to catch us out, Ross.
Say
He's
something
trying to
racist.
say something stupid."
Well, do you know what? Like I'm a big man. I'm a noble man. So
He's not audience. He's 5'7" if he's an inch.
You need to stop telling people I'm 5'7". I'm 5'10".
I guess, Ross, you need to be
What's that,
taller
3 inches,
than
Ross?
5'7".
Anyway, what I was going to say is I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. This is for you, Sam, by the way. So, can we get Dave out of here, please?
Can we remove Dave? I think I do have the capacity for that. Yeah, I can just.
What I was going to say, because when I
perfect. Wait a minute. Look, even better. Oh, brilliant! Absolutely.
It's at least 50%. Now we're back. What?
I hope you two
What else?
appreciated my freeze frame when I got removed. The timing was sublime.
Me and Sam didn't even plan it synchronously. Just to see. What I was going to say, Sam, was I'm willing to admit when I was wrong. And the post-credit scene you originally did for Snyder's Cut for our podcast, I actually did enjoy it. So I think that should be a common thing going forward. So whatever random shit we spout before or after our official episode, I think you should do.
To be honest, Ross, I have done that a few times, and then most of the time we're just not really that interesting.
I was going to say, like, we can only
This
be
is for the
funny
benefit
so
of
much
our
at the time,
YouTube.
So the longer
That's
we
fair.
record, the more chances we're going to strike something that isn't just boring as fuck.
Well,
I suppose that's the entire podcast, isn't it? Really, like eventually we'll be interested.
There's a certain amount of,
That's sort of what we do.
intentionality to it, but yeah, sure, it's a numbers game.
Eventually we'll have something useful and pertinent to say.
I keep saying let's record 4 podcasts a day, and they're all bound to be shit, but you never
no,
know.
Sam,
if I
keep
won the
telling you we
lottery-
have full-time employment.
If
I've
if
got
I won the
full-time
lottery-
employment.
Come on, Dave.
What do you think I do every day?
Are we age-gated, Sam? Is this video age-gated? Should I say what I think Dave does?
I think this is a good point for us to end the
I think
broadcast.
it's better left unsaid.
before we start really turning on each other.
Sling in the mud.
So we do. I think we do have one listener who's still with us, and
Wow.
thank you very much for
You
watching.
God bless you.
awful.
Yeah, if you liked what if somehow you liked what you saw when you watched this,
We feel
and
for
if
you.
you're not actually somebody that we know already,
I apologise. We aren't better looking.
no, you can. We are on. Just search for Imaginary
Also,
Pod.
yeah, if you
On
On
follow us and you
Spotify,
get
Apple
9 of your,
Podcasts, or
if you
wherever you
have
get your
9
podcasts.
if you have 9 friends and you get them to follow us on Twitter, you can say hello to Sam for the roundup episode.
I am pretty sure it is just someone that we know already. So
Oh, definitely
you know,
is. Definitely,
yeah.
it's probably Dave's brother.
Sam, dox them.
Oh, do you know, guys? Do you know what it is? Do you want to know what it genuinely is?
is it you?
I think you want another tab.
I'm ending the broadcast right now. Bye.